I knew I should have turned the car around the second I saw smoke rising in the distance. Any normal mother would have, but something inside me pushed my foot harder on the gas instead of the brake. My name is Carrie Anderson, and the night that changed our lives started after a 16-hour shift in the emergency room. I was exhausted, angry at the world, and just wanted to get my 10-year-old daughter Zoe home so she could sleep somewhere that wasn't a hospital cot. The rain came down fast and heavy as I drove through the Chicago Industrial District, a shortcut I normally avoided, especially at midnight. But that night, survival logic was nowhere in my brain, only tiredness and the hope for a warm bed. Zoe leaned toward the window, watching the orange streetlights smear against the glass. Then she stiffened. "Mom, is that smoke?" she asked. I followed her gaze toward a rundown warehouse with a rusted sign that read, "Holiday Storage." Thick smoke pushed through the cracks like something alive trying to escape. I should have kept driving. I really should have. Instead, I slowed the car, my stomach tightening the same way it did right before an ER trauma call. A moment later, I heard it. A voice. Hoarse. Desperate. A man shouting for help. Zoe's fingers clutched my arm. "Mom, someone's inside." The fear in her voice hit me harder than the rain. I pulled into the lot before I could think through the consequences. "Stay in the car and lock the doors," I ordered, but Zoe didn't move. She just looked at me with those bright green eyes she got from her father, steady and stubborn. "You help people, Mom," she said softly. "We help people." Those words cut right through my hesitation. She had heard me say it 1,000 times about my job. Never did I imagine she would use it against me. I popped the trunk and grabbed the emergency kit. Inside was a small fire extinguisher and a heavy pry bar my late husband insisted we always carry. Rain soaked us instantly as we ran toward the padlocked warehouse door. 3 minutes, I told Zoe. "If I'm not out, honk the horn 3 times and drive away." Quote, "I'm not leaving you," she whispered, gripping the flashlight like it was a lifeline. The padlock snapped after a hard strike from the pry bar, and a cloud of smoke burst out when the door swung open. We pulled our scarves over our noses and stepped inside. My eyes watered. The air tasted like metal and chemicals. Zoe's flashlight cut through the darkness in thin, trembling beams. The coughing sound grew louder. Weak, but determined. We moved past rows of old crates until the light fell on something that made my breath catch. A man was chained to a support column. Blood soaked through his ruined shirt. His face was bruised, swollen, almost unrecognizable except for the one eye that managed to focus on me. "Help me," he rasped. His voice was rough, but filled with a power that made me step closer, despite every instinct screaming at me to run. The chains around his wrists and ankles were industrial grade. The locks were huge. "I'm Carrie," I said, kneeling beside him. "This is my daughter, Zoe. We're getting you out." "How long have you been here?" I asked. "Hours." He coughed. "Maybe more." He was hurt badly. A gunshot wound to his shoulder, and from the way he breathed, I suspected broken ribs. But none of that mattered as flames began licking up the far wall behind us. "The key," he said, nodding toward the shadowed corner. "Workbench. Drawer." "I'll get it," Zoe said before I could stop her. She ran through smoke, coughing hard but refusing to slow down. I held the man up as best I could while watching the fire crawl closer. "Who did this to you?" I whispered. "People who want me dead." That answer did not help my pulse. Zoe stumbled back with a small brass key in her shaking hand. Her eyes were red from the smoke, but her determination was stronger. "Found it," she said. Her hands trembled, but the locks clicked open one by one. The chains fell to the floor with a clang lost under the roar of growing flames. The man collapsed against me, barely able to stand. "We need to go," I told him. Zoe led the way toward a back exit she had spotted earlier. I half-carried him, every step a battle, as burning pieces of ceiling crashed dangerously close. We burst through the back door just as a deep explosion shook the warehouse behind us. The blast knocked all 3 of us to the wet pavement. Rain poured on us, cooling our burning throats. The man struggled to sit up. "My name is Lucas Montgomery," he said in a voice that carried authority even through pain. His sharp gaze locked on mine. "You just saved my life, and because of that, your life will never be the same." I didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. "Mom," Zoe whispered, trembling. "What happens now?" I didn't know, but the sirens were already getting closer, and something cold settled inside me when Lucas shook his head. "No hospitals," he warned. "They'll find us there." "Who?" I asked. "The people who chained me inside that warehouse." The truth hit me all at once. I had just rescued a man someone was willing to burn alive. And whoever they were, they might already be looking for us. The first time I saw fear in Lucas Montgomery's eyes, it wasn't inside that burning warehouse. It was in the passenger seat of my beat-up Honda as flashing sirens echoed somewhere behind us. He winced with every breath, his hand pressed tightly over the bandage Zoe held against his shoulder, but his voice stayed low and firm. "Do not stop," he said, "and do not go anywhere near a hospital." I swallowed hard, gripping the steering wheel as the city lights blurred past. "You need medical care. Proper care." "I'll take my chances with you," he answered, looking at me with an intensity that almost made me forget the blood soaking through my towels. "Anyone else sees me, they'll report it, and we'll all be dead before sunrise." The word made my stomach flip. Beside me, Zoe leaned forward between the front seats. "Mom, what do we do?" The answer came from my instincts, the same instincts that had pushed me into that warehouse instead of driving away. "We go to the cabin," I said. "Your dad's old fishing cabin, off-grid, no cameras, no neighbors." Lucas didn't argue. He only nodded once, as if he understood more about my life than I wanted him to. The drive north was silent, except for Lucas's strained breathing and the soft hum of tires on wet pavement. Zoe held pressure on his wound like a trained medic, her small hands steady in a way that both impressed and terrified me. When we finally reached the cabin, the world felt still again. No sirens, no streetlights, just the dark outline of the woods and the smell of wet pine. Inside, the cabin was exactly as we had left it, cozy but worn, stocked with old blankets, a first aid kit, and memories I tried not to think about. Zoe immediately started gathering supplies while I guided Lucas to sit on the old couch. "You're safe here," I said. Lucas gave a quiet laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "Safe is a strong word, Doctor." My hands didn't shake until I cleaned the bullet wound. He bit down on a towel, his jaw tight, but he never looked away from me. Not once. "You've done this before," he said. "Combat medic," I explained. "Before medical school." Quote. His breathing slowed as I stitched the wound, his one uninjured eye studying me with a sharpness that made it impossible to look away. "You saved me," he said. "You keep saying that." "Because it's the truth, and the truth has consequences." I didn't respond. I focused on the sutures, the disinfectant, the rising heat in my face every time I felt his gaze on me. When I finished patching him up, he reached for his shoe. I watched in confusion until he pulled out a small burner phone. He dialed a number and spoke in a language I didn't recognize. Italian, maybe? His voice, even wounded, carried authority. After he hung up, he looked at me with something like regret. "A car will arrive at dawn," he said. "It will take us to a safe location." Us, not him. Us. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. "Lucas," I whispered, "I can't just disappear. I have a job. Bills. A life." "You won't have a life if they find you," he answered. "You and Zoe were the only witnesses to what happened tonight. That makes you targets." My hands froze on the medical supplies. Zoe, who had been pretending not to listen from the doorway, stepped closer. "Are bad people coming after us now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Lucas didn't sugarcoat it. "Yes." I expected fear, tears, panic. Instead, Zoe's face hardened with a bravery I didn't know she had. "Then we stay together," she said. "We're safe together." Lucas looked at her with something I couldn't name. Respect, maybe, or softness, or something far more dangerous. At dawn, headlights swept across the cabin windows. A sleek black SUV rolled into the driveway, and a tall man with silver-streaked black hair stepped out. He moved with quiet power, every step controlled. Gabriel, Lucas said with relief. Good, you made it. The man nodded once, then his eyes landed on me and Zoe. These are the civilians? He asked. Zoe huffed. We have names. A small smile tugged at Gabriel's mouth. My apologies. Zoe, Dr. Anderson. I'm here to take you somewhere secure. Secure, not safe. The distinction sent a chill down my spine. As we gathered our things, Lucas stepped closer to me than necessary. His presence was overwhelming in the small cabin doorway. You saved my life, he said quietly. Now I'll save yours. Something electric passed between us then. Not fear, not gratitude. Something deeper. Something I shouldn't have felt for a man whose world was built on danger and secrets. Zoe climbed into the SUV first. Gabriel took the front seat. I hesitated at the door. Lucas leaned closer. I won't let anything happen to you, he said. Either of you. I didn't know if I believed him. But for the first time since that warehouse exploded behind us, I felt a spark of something I thought I had buried years ago. Hope. As the SUV pulled away, leaving the cabin and our old life behind us, I realized something I never expected. Saving Lucas Montgomery was the easy part. Surviving what came next would be the real challenge. I had seen trauma. I had seen death. I had even treated soldiers in war zones. But nothing prepared me for what it felt like to walk into the home of a man the entire city feared. Lucas Montgomery's estate wasn't a mansion made to show off wealth. It was quiet, controlled, beautiful in a way I didn't expect. Soft white lights lined a long driveway, cutting through miles of private Wisconsin land. Trees stretched out in every direction like dark guardians of a secret few people were allowed to know. The moment we entered the house, a woman in her 60s, with sharp eyes and perfect posture, greeted us. This is Martha, Lucas said. She runs the property. Martha didn't smile, but her gaze warmed when she looked at Zoe. Your rooms are ready, she said. Come with me. Rooms. As in plural. As in prepared in advance. My stomach twisted. How did you know we were coming? Mr. Montgomery is thorough, she said simply. The suite she led us to was larger than our apartment. Sunlight spilled across polished floors. Clothes that fit both Zoe and me hung neatly in the closets. Toiletries in my favorite brands were arranged on the bathroom counter. Zoe spun in a circle. Mom, it's like a hotel. A really expensive hotel. I tried to smile, but inside I felt a knot forming. Was this safety or a cage with softer walls? After Martha left, Zoe jumped onto her bed. Mom, he's not a bad guy, she said. Bad guys don't save people. I didn't have the heart to tell her that sometimes villains donate to charity too. I washed my face, then made myself walk down the hallway toward Lucas's study. The door was open. He sat behind a heavy desk, clean shirt, fresh bandage, and a presence that filled the entire room even when he didn't speak. Sit, he said softly. I did. He didn't look dangerous in that moment. He looked tired, determined, human. First, he said, thank you, not just for my life, for protecting Zoe. You didn't have to, but you did. That's what we do, I said. We help people. His eyes warmed in a way that made my pulse speed up. You helped the wrong man, Carrie. Or maybe the right one. I'm not sure yet. My chest tightened. I didn't know who you were. And now you do. I waited for him to explain. When he didn't, I asked the question that had been clawing at me since the fire. Who chained you in that warehouse? He leaned back, shoulders tense. Someone I trusted, someone close. I felt that answer in my bones. Betrayal had a sound, a feeling, and it lived in his voice. Why target you? He hesitated before answering. I lead the Montgomery organization. My breath caught. Yes, he said. That Montgomery family? I stared at him. A dozen news reports flashed through my mind. Rumors. Whispers. A man who controlled half of Chicago's underworld and now sat across from me thanking me for saving him. "You look terrified," he said quietly. "I am." He nodded once. "Good. Fear keeps you alive." Then he surprised me. He stood, walked to a shelf, and picked up a framed photo, a smiling woman and a teenage boy. My wife, my son. I studied the picture. "They're beautiful." "They're gone," he said. "A car accident, except it wasn't an accident." My breath hitched. "I'm sorry." His fingers tightened around the frame. "The Rosini family arranged it. To warn me, to control me. And I've spent the last 5 years making sure no one else loses their family because of this life." I expected anger in his voice, rage. But instead, there was something else. Grief, and a promise he had carved into his soul. "That's why they chained you," I whispered. He nodded. "They want to destroy everything I built. And killing me was step one." I didn't know what to say, not as a doctor, not as a mother, not as a woman who couldn't ignore the pull she felt toward him. "Why tell me all of this?" I asked. "Because you and Zoe are already in the middle of it," he said. "And I won't lie to you." He stepped closer, close enough that I felt his warmth, his presence wrapped around me like a shadow. "I will protect you," he said. "No matter what it costs." My chest tightened. I should have stepped back. I should have told him we needed to leave. Instead, I whispered, "Why? Why protect us?" His voice dropped, soft but fierce. "Because you saved me when everyone else walked away. Because Zoe reminds me of everything good left in this world. And because—" He stopped himself. Something raw flickered in his eyes. Before he could continue, Gabriel appeared in the doorway. "Sir," he said, "you need to see this." Quote. Lucas stepped back, his jaw tightening again. The warmth from moments before vanished into something colder, professional. We followed Gabriel into a monitoring room. Dozens of screens lit the walls, each showing different camera angles across Chicago. Gabriel pointed at one. "The hospital where I worked." My breath froze. 3 men stood at the front desk. Not talking, interrogating, looking for me. "Rosini's men," Lucas said. Gabriel nodded. "They visited your building too. They questioned your neighbors." My legs went numb. "They'll find where I live," I whispered. "They already did," Gabriel said. "And they're not leaving." I felt Zoe's small hand slip into mine. She didn't understand everything, but she understood enough. "Mom," she whispered, "we can't go home." Lucas's voice broke through the fear, strong, steady. "You stay here," he said, "with me, under my protection." My heart pounded. "For how long?" His answer was quiet, final, "Until this war ends." My breath caught. A war, not a fight, not a threat. A war between powerful men who wouldn't hesitate to destroy anyone in their way. I looked at Zoe, then back at Lucas. His gaze softened. "I won't let anything happen to you." For the first time, I believed him, and I hated how much comfort I found in his voice. Because I knew this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning. The estate no longer felt like a temporary refuge. It felt like the center of a storm closing in. Every morning brought new reports from Gabriel. Every night, the tension in the air thickened. I tried to pretend for Zoe's sake that everything was normal, but nothing about our lives was normal anymore. For every moment of peace, there was a deeper shadow behind it. Even so, something between Lucas and me kept shifting. Quiet moments in hallways. The way he looked at Zoe as if she reminded him of a life he lost. The way he looked at me as if I was a life he wanted. I felt it every time he entered a room. A pull I tried to ignore. A warmth I tried to push away. Because falling for a man like Lucas Montgomery could only end in heartbreak or danger. Probably both. One afternoon I found him in the estate gym, pushing his healing shoulder through resistance work with painful determination. "You're pushing too fast," I said, moving closer to adjust the equipment. He smirked. "And you're still telling me what to do." "It's my job." His gaze softened. "It's more than your job." My breath caught. For a second, I forgot the threats, the guns, the enemies. I only felt the quiet heat between us. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a news alert, a photo of me and Zoe. My hospital ID. A headline about the warehouse fire. A request for the public to report any sightings. My throat closed. They posted our faces. Lucas took the phone gently from my hand. His jaw clenched. Franco is trying to corner us, pressure us, make you afraid enough to run. Is it working? I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he cupped the back of my hand with surprising tenderness. No one is taking you from me, he said, or Zoe. Before I could respond, Gabriel stormed into the room. Sir, we have a situation. Rosini proposed a peace meeting. Quote, Lucas froze. Where? The Chicago Art Institute. Private hall. 2 days from now. That's a trap, I said immediately. Gabriel nodded. Definitely a trap. Lucas paced, thinking quickly. Watching him shift from the man I tended to the leader of an empire was terrifying and mesmerizing at the same time. We can't refuse, he said finally. If we refuse, we look weak. I'm going with you, I said before I could overthink it. Both men turned toward me. Absolutely not, Lucas said. Absolutely yes, I replied. I can spot poison drinks, airborne agents, medical threats your men won't notice. Send me with you, and I will keep you alive. The silence stretched before Lucas exhaled, defeated. You've saved me once, he murmured. Maybe you'll save me again. 2 days later, I stood beside him in a borrowed designer dress, medical bag in hand, walking through the marble halls of the Art Institute. Gabriel flanked his left. I flanked his right. People whispered as we passed, sensing tension they didn't understand. We entered a private gallery room. Franco Rosini waited with a smile, too cold to be human. Montgomery, he said, you brought a doctor. How fragile you've become. Lucas ignored the insult. Say what you came to say. The negotiation began with fake politeness, hidden threats, and the kind of tension that made my pulse pound in my ears. I kept my eyes on everything, every hand movement, every guard, every glass placed on the table, and that's when I saw it. The waiter pouring water into Lucas's glass moved just differently enough to raise every alarm in my body. Don't drink that, I whispered, touching Lucas's arm. Franco smirked. The doctor is paranoid. Let her taste it then. My hands moved before I could think. I pulled out a test strip from my bag. The liquid turned blue. Poison. I felt Lucas stiffen beside me. Negotiations ended instantly. Weapons appeared. The room exploded into chaos. Not bullets. Franco wasn't stupid, but knives and fists to avoid alerting the museum security. I was shoved behind a statue as Gabriel took down 2 men with brutal efficiency. Lucas fought like a man who had lived through wars. His injured shoulder didn't slow him. Every move was sharp, practiced, deadly, until he was face to face with Franco. It ends today, Lucas growled. Franco laughed, even with a blade to his throat. Kill me, and the video of your doctor friend rescuing you goes public. Her daughter goes to foster care. She goes to prison for aiding a criminal. My stomach dropped. He wasn't threatening Lucas. He was threatening me. And Zoe. Lucas, I whispered, stepping forward. Let him go. His jaw tightened. His knuckles went white. But he released Franco. The drive back to the estate was silent. When we finally stopped, Lucas stared out the window for so long, I thought he wasn't going to speak. He used you against me, he said. I have never let myself care about anyone since my family died. I didn't realize how dangerous it would be for you. I didn't know what to say. But then Gabriel burst in. Sir, Rosini's men located the estate. We need to evacuate. Now. Quote, everything became a blur. Bags, guns, rushing Zoe to the helicopter behind the house. We were airborne in minutes, leaving the estate behind as darkness swallowed the ground below us. The Pacific Northwest compound was cold and quiet. A fortress hidden between mountains and ocean, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. How long will we keep running? I asked Lucas one night on the deck, staring into the forest. As long as it takes, he said. Then he turned to me, eyes softer. Unless I find another way. The next morning, I learned what he meant. He called his lieutenants from all over the country. And then he said something I never expected. We're dismantling the organization. All illegal operations end. Everything becomes legitimate within 18 months. Anyone who doesn't agree will be cut loose. No exceptions. Even Gabriel looked shocked. I felt my heart stop. "Lucas, you're giving up everything." He shook his head. "I'm choosing something better." 3 years passed in a blur of change and unexpected peace. Zoe grew. I worked quietly under a new identity. And Lucas slowly transformed from a feared crime boss into something else entirely. A man trying to rebuild a life he never thought he could have. Then, one clear autumn morning, he handed me a folder. Inside were legal documents, proof of his cooperation with the FBI, immunity agreements, business registrations, everything he needed to become fully legitimate. And then he looked at me, not with fire, not with danger, but with hope. "I can't erase my past," he said, "but I've built a future I'm proud of, and I want you in it. If you'll stay." My heart felt too full, too fragile. I reached for his hand. "I'm already here," I said. Below us, Zoe's laughter drifted from the garden, carried by the wind. And for the first time in years, I felt safe. Not because danger was gone, but because I didn't have to face it alone.